National Quilt Museum does present the art of quilting to visitors from all over, whether they're quilters or just art enthusiasts, or someone that's just passing through this area. So that, they play a very important role in preserving and honoring today's quilture.
That's really interesting. Tell me a little bit about the economics. How important is quilting to Paducah?
Well, obviously, it has contributed greatly to shaping Paducah's identity on a global scale and really, putting Paducah onto that cultural map. And one of the things that it certainly has led to was our discovery of the UNESCO Creative Cities Network. And so UNESCO is the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. And the Creative Cities program is in that cultural theme. It's akin to the UNESCO World Heritage Sites program, but it really focuses on honoring places that value creativity and have a proven commitment to creative strategy and global collaboration, but also have a deep heritage in an art form, whether that's music, film, design, gastronomy, or crafts and folk art, which is what Paducah found was a fit for our place. And so in finding crafts and folk art, we, discovered that there was really that depth of tradition, some of the historic connections to quilting here in Kentucky, and the contemporary experience that really drives that art form and craft forward. And so that Creative Cities Network is something that allows cities to apply and earn a designation. And so Paducah did earn that designation in 2013, and since then, has been able to share within this network of 180 cities around the world in 72 countries, the universal value of the cultural traditions here in Paducah, and particularly quilting and the fiber arts. So that's, a huge global platform for Paducah that otherwise we would not have had if we didn't have that deep tradition in a particular craft.
Now, how hard was it to get that designation? Was it what kind of application process was it? And was your office part of that?
Yes. So our office, I loved when I filled out the questionnaire for this interview today. We do consider ourselves an other kind of preserver of culture. Yeah. And so we are telling Paducah's story. We're collecting the various assets that we have and fostering that into stories that we can use to share Paducah with the world and invite people in to experience that. So we were part of leading that application process in our community that really was a multi-year process. And there were revisions and communication with UNESCO and the State Department here in the U.S. to get their buy-in and work toward that designation of kind of collecting what are our assets. Why do we feel that we can contribute to this network and have something really valuable to share?
That's really cool. And you're not just quilting. I heard from our quilting army that there's a lot of arts and crafts going on that you really promote.
Yes.
That. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So Paducah's kind of cultural evolution, there are definitely those key points within the quilting heritage that are so key. But there have been other developments along the way that have added to that. So we have a flood wall. We're right here on the confluence of the Ohio and Tennessee rivers. So we have a flood wall to protect us from those rising and unpredictable river waters. But on that wall, we've transformed that with 50 murals by world-renowned muralist Robert Dafford, and he's actually from Louisiana, Lafayette. So that project really helped to transform downtown and encourage the preservation of some of our historic architecture here. And so in downtown, that's home of the National Quilt Museum, the Carson Center, which is a 1,800-seat performing arts center, an independent theater, cinema that has the longest-running film festival in Kentucky, Actually, this weekend we have the first all-lesbian film festival in the U.S.
Really?
that will come back for its third year.
Wow, that's
So
really cool.
there's kind of creativity in all forms here happening in Paducah. But one of the strategies that I can't fail to mention was that outside of downtown, there's a little residential neighborhood, Town. And so I think the lengthy experienced taper pieces is now located in that neighborhood.
Right.
But it is our oldest residential neighborhood, and the city employed a very creative strategy to revitalize that neighborhood, an artist relocation program that drew artists in through a really innovative public-private partnership to allow them to create live workspaces, revitalize the historic homes, and add to our creative landscape here. So that neighborhood and that Lower Town Arts District have become sort of a national model for arts-based revitalization, and that neighborhood is also now home to not only artists and creatives of all types, but our Paducah School of Art and Design, which is kind of signaling the next generation of creatives and that creative economy here.
Tell me more about the Paducah School of Art and Design.
Well, they are really, it's part of our community college, our award-winning community college, West Kentucky Community and Technical College, part of the Kentucky Community and Technical College system. So the Paducah School of Art and Design presents visual arts education in 2D and 3D media. And so we're really excited that in the new Anchor 2D building, there is graphic design, there's photography, but there is also a fiber art studio now.
That's really cool.
And so I'm not sure if the Quilting Army made it over there, but that has now been a venue for AQS to use for dyeing classes during the Quilt Week events and also for exhibitions. So Sakwa Korean Quilts Now was there in the gallery during Spring Quilt Week, and they've hosted other international exhibits for the whole time that has been open in connection with the Quilt Week events. But they're doing, even this summer, really making great use of that new fiber art space with a couple of classes in their Master Artist Workshop series this summer that are fiber focused.
That's really cool. That's amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah,
well, it sounds like
we're very excited about that.
It sounds like a really interesting space to be outside of the quilting weeks too. That if people are that there's lots to do and see, even if you're driving through or if you have an adventure. Are there other activities happening there throughout the year?
Absolutely, and I would definitely give a little plug for our website, which is paducah.travel. And so if you are most interested in that quilting aspect, you can do paducah.travel/quilting, but you can get a feel for the wider cultural experience in Paducah on that site. But we do really boast kind of a year-round experience with great events that make perfect times to visit. But any time that you might be passing through, you certainly could get a feel for that. Getting into historic downtown, the National Quilt Museum is open nearly every day of the year. And really that year-round quilting experience is something that we want to share with quilters because everyone knows Hancocks of Paducah is also here year-round, and that is also I would say a mecca experience, getting into that space and having all of that high-quality fabric at your fingertips.
Now, for people who don't know, so the Quilting Army did go to Hancocks. They found Tell them a little bit about what Hancocks is and where does it fit within the history of Paducah?
Sure. So Hancocks is a family business, and they are, I would say, close to 50 years running now. Older than AQS, and so they're, many people know Hancocks of Paducah from their mail order business and receiving their catalogs and ordering the beautiful fabric. So there's that warehouse space is certainly very, very active here in Paducah, and they're doing national and international business on a daily, weekly basis. But the store and warehouse is about 60,000 square feet of space. So when you walk into that door, those fabrics are all right before your eyes. And then hanging above are examples of kind of samples of what can be made with the fabrics that you can purchase. So they have an incredible staff, and it's an incredible family, the Hancocks are. And so that, again, that's another kind of year-round signature quilting experience in Paducah.
That's really interesting. And it's funny because, again, I told you, that seemed kind of the idea of that much fabric seemed kind of overwhelming to me. But the Quilting Army reported back that it's so well organized and there's so many people to help you that it's just a fun experience. It's not overwhelming.
Yes, and like I said, they have an incredible team, so it's definitely worth going and having that experience. And we do have many other quilt and fabric shops, some that are very long-standing, Englishes, which people may know from the Quilt Week events. They always have booths. And Quilt in a Day, we have a location here. We also have some really great studios and other shops, including Paper Pieces, Must Stitch Emporium, which is a new shop on Market House Square. So there are many of those quilting experiences and even workshops happening throughout the year.
And so do you think that, Paducah, what size town is Paducah? Paducah is as big as the people that come, right? The town?
Yes. So Paducah is about 25,000 people. So those Quilt Week events bring in an incredible amount and really capsize that population. But then I would say through the year we do have kind of a high level of culture for a small town.
Yeah. And so how much is the local, so it's got to be like your national and international buying people, like customers. How much of Paducah is quilting? I guess is my question. How much are these are all national shops, because you couldn't support it without that. But how much of your local population is quilting?
Yeah. There are several local guilds, and my director here shared a really interesting story recently. We had hosted a Creative Cities meeting of those cities of craft and folk art, and worked with the local Stitch and Quilt Guild to create beautiful quilts to send with those delegations back home. So we went as a thank you to their guild meeting, and my director said that it was so surprising to see this room full of ladies, and not only so many local quilters and fiber artists, but many of them who had moved here because of quilting over time.
Really?
So,
All right, so
and that may be an interesting angle for you to explore.
Totally,
too.
Right. So tell me, maybe this is the last thing. I have one more question after this that I ask everybody. But all right, so if people are out there and they're thinking, maybe I would like to relocate. Tell me about relocating to Paducah. Is Paducah affordable? How would you think about potentially relocating to Paducah?
Sure. Well, Paducah has actually received some really some great national listings from media, speaking to the quality of life and that value of life here and affordability. So, of course, as I mentioned, the Lowertown Arts District is an incredibly creative area of Paducah. You're surrounded by that energy. So a lot of people that are artists begin by looking at that neighborhood and trying to get connected in that way. But there are many areas of Paducah, and all of Paducah has that sort of energy and embrace. So certainly our website can be a starting point for that. Our Chamber of Commerce does a fabulous relocation packet that can kind of inform you a little bit about what Paducah does have to offer from a relocation standpoint. But there are really many reasons that Paducah is a great place to live for people that value that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm looking on Zillow. It's totally it's a reasonable place to live. It looks like the cost of living is really reasonable there. Would that seem? Yeah, that's really okay. So now I want to just live in Paducah. That's so funny. That's so interesting. Yeah. Well, why wouldn't you? If you were had the time, and you could have all the quilting areas in the world, all these
Right.
things and arts, and